This video is so gonna die to Ghibli's lawyers. If you're familiar with anime, or hell, even if you aren't, you will no doubt have heard of Studio Ghibli, the animation powerhouse that brought us classic film after classic film. Spirited Away, My Neighbour Totoro, Princess Mononoke, Earwig and the Witch, okay not that one, but their legacy cannot be understated. Out of the top 20 highest grossing films in Japan, 4 of those are Ghibli films. Spirited Away stood as their biggest blockbuster for almost 2 decades until Mugen Train dethroned it. Yeah, they're a big deal, and often a gateway to the world of anime, so much so that they actually have not one, but 2 attractions devoted to them, the Ghibli Museum in Mitaka, Tokyo, and the Ghibli Park in Nagakute Aichi. The museum, as the name suggests, is a museum devoted not only to them, but the art of animation as a whole, whereas the park is an 18-acre theme park containing real-life replicas of locations from their movies. Although both were made with different intents, they both have one thing in common: they have cinemas that play shorts exclusively made for them. Hello there, I'm Danielle, and welcome to the Media Bin. This episode is about the Ghibli shorts you can only see in Japan. Keep in mind that as of this time of production, these shorts have not seen a home release yet. As a result, the sources I can use are very limited. There will be a lot of Ken Burnsing in this video. Also, some films have different English titles. For example, House Hunting is sometimes called Looking for a Home. I'll be using what's on the Ghibli Museum's website, with the exception of Main the Kittenbus. After the smash success of Princess Mononoke, plans for a museum devoted to Studio Ghibli were put into place in 1998. Hayao Miyazaki had a hand in every aspect of the design process, using a process akin to how he makes his films, essentially making it a Ghibli film come to life. His idea was to have the building itself be an exhibit rather than just a place that they are housed in, a place he describes as being a place that makes you feel more enriched when you leave than when you entered. This is evident in the museum's tagline, "Let's get lost together." The museum takes strong influence from European architecture, in particular the famous Italian hilltop town of Calcutta and the architecture of Viennese artist Hundertwasser, the latter of which Miyazaki was introduced to on a trip Miramax had arranged for him for the Berlinale showing of Mononoke. Given Miyazaki has been influenced by European architecture for his films, most notably the city of Koro in Kiki's Delivery Service being influenced by the Swedish city of Visby, it's natural he would carry this over into his involvement in the design of the museum. The centrepiece of the museum is the Saturn Theatre. Because he felt little children would be scared of being in a dark and enclosed space, he gave the cinema windows that automatically open and close, akin to an airliner. During the period when they projected 35mm film, the cinema actually had DTS and later Dolby Digital. For those of you unfamiliar, Dolby Digital and DTS were 2 of the 3 digital sound formats used on 35mm film, alongside the less used Sony Dynamic Digital Sound. Dolby Digital used something akin to a QR code that was physically printed on the film itself in between the sprockets, whereas DTS used a timecode that was synced to a CD-ROM, allowing for higher quality audio unconstrained by the limitations of being printed onto 35mm. The latter format's development was supported by none other than Steven Spielberg, who debuted the format on Jurassic Park. I never expected it from their theatre, but hey, DTS was by far the best audio format for 35mm, so it made sense for Ghibli to go all out. To accompany the theatre, on September 1st, 1999, Hayao Miyazaki began development on 3 exclusive shorts: The Whale Hunt, Koro's Big Day Out, and Main the Kittenbus. This was unusual for the studio, as they had largely focused their resources on one project at a time. These shorts will be developed alongside Miyazaki's next feature, a little film called Spirited Away. Construction of the museum started in March of 2000, lasting approximately 18 months. Fresh off the heels of their mega hit Spirited Away, the museum opened on October 1st, 2001, with one short ready to go, The Whale Hunt, which was based on a short story in Riko Nakagawa's popular No Nursery School series. It involves a group of children in a nursery school pretending to build a boat called the Elephant and Lion. Soon, their imagination kicks in and they set off to hunt a whale, braving storms and winds in the process. Luckily for them, the whale is friendly and motherly, sort of like an underwater Totoro, and even accompanies them back to land. After they take a picture and the whale returns to the ocean, the fantasy ends. Miyazaki had been a fan of Nakagawa's works since the 1960s. He was impressed by how seamlessly she integrated the sea into the nursery in her story. In fact, this wasn't even his first collaboration with her. She wrote the intro theme to My Neighbour Totoro, and Miyazaki directed a series of 3 30-second shorts for TV based on the Blue Seed. The recording of the voice actors was rather unique. Rather than just sticking kids in a booth, he recorded a group of kindergartners pretending to play. In the lead role of Shigeru is 2nd grader Keito Ishihara. Compared to other Studio Ghibli films, the art style is more simplistic, homaging Yuriko Yamawaki's art style that you see in Nakagawa's book series. Granted, it's not as drastic as My Neighbour's The Yamadas, but it's still a decent departure from the trademark Ghibli style. The short won Japan's prestigious Ofuji Noburo Award, which was the 3rd out of Ghibli's 5 wins total. 3 months later, another short premiered at the museum, Koro's Big Day Out. This is about a dog named Koro, whose owner Sawako accidentally leaves the gates open after she sets off for school, giving him an opportunity to experience the world on his own. He goes on an adventure across town and gets picked up by a girl on a bicycle, but he gets away on a train crossing. He eventually meets a kind old dog and his owners. Meanwhile, his owner and her father are worried sick and start placing missing signs across town. Koro ends up falling asleep under a delivery van, but luckily the driver gives him a ride. He just so happens to drive past his home, the smell of his neighbourhood leading him to jump out the van and be reunited with his owner. The film was inspired by a desire for Hayao Miyazaki to create a film with a distinct cel animated look to contrast Ghibli's transition to digital ink and paint. The town in the short was inspired by the Kogani area of Tokyo, which is where the studio is located. To learn how to animate Koro, they visited the house of artistic director Nizo Yamamoto to study his 2 puppies, Ten and Ken. 9 puppies, whose mother belonged to Ghibli cinematographer Tamaki Kojo, were cast to provide the voice of Koro himself. Its art style takes influence from Akiko Hayashi and consists of soft colours that are enhanced by coloured pencils. This would later prove to be an influence on Ponyo. Indeed, a recurring thing on these shorts is that they will end up being test runs for future ideas that will be used in their feature films. May and the Kittenbus. This is the one everyone wants to see, for one simple reason. It's the only proper sequel to a Studio Ghibli film. It follows our lovable child May, 1 year after the events of My Neighbour Totoro. In the garden, she is eating caramel and enjoying nature, when all of a sudden she notices a whirlwind. It turns out it's a baby cat bus. They're the child of the cat bus from the first movie, loves caramel like May does, and is just big enough to fit her inside. Later that night, May wakes up and sees the Kittenbus ready to take her on an adventure. As they set off to the forest, they come across a gathering of cat public transports, like a cat train and a grandma cat liner. Also in that gathering are not only numerous ghosts, but Totoro himself. She offers the grandma a piece of caramel and she takes a few minutes to eat it. She almost chokes, causing May to fear she may have harmed her, but she turns out to have enjoyed it and gives May a lick back. After that, the catliner and Kittenbus set off in the night with May on board ready to go home. Chika Sakamoto, who voiced May in the original film, returns to voice May 14 years later. Miyazaki himself not only voices the catliner, but Totoro as well. Also returning to the sequel is Miyazaki's longtime composer Joe Hisaishi, who, as well as reprising several of Totoro's pieces, composed 2 new ones as well. The first one, Have a Caramel, was written for the scene where May feeds the Kittenbus some of her caramel. His intent with the score was to make it May's theme. The second piece is played when the catbuses enter the forest and incorporates the crumhorn into it. From what I've seen from the 2 pieces of footage in the Lasita San Arigato documentary, the art style is a great evolution of the style seen in Totoro, keeping its familiar look while also updating some minor things given the 14-year gap. The clouds and trees actually move this time around, unlike in the original where they were static. It could seamlessly fit into the original while still feeling fresh. Imaginary flying machines. Hayao Miyazaki is really into flying, so what better way to illustrate his special interest than have him appear as a pig a la Porco Rosso. Throughout the short, he introduces a bunch of flying machines from Castle in the Sky and ones from 19th century science fiction, providing a very retro-futuristic perspective on the history of flight straight out of a Jules Verne novel, in particular taking influence from Albert Robita's designs. Eventually, it ends with these fantastical machines evolving into the aircraft we see today. The short ends with a boy bearing a striking resemblance to Pazu, setting off in an ornithopter called the Alcyon. It was originally produced for a temporary exhibition, Laputa, the Castle in the Sky and Imaginary Science Fiction Machines. The production of the short utilised traditional animation that was later augmented with CGI, providing a test run for the animation of the castle and the war scenes in Howl's Moving Castle. Outside the Ghibli Museum, it has screened on Japan Airlines' in-flight entertainment system. This isn't the first time Ghibli has collaborated with them, as the streamlined dubs were originally made for their flights. Side note, looking this short was a bit of a pain, as a band that did metal covers of Ghibli songs was also called Imaginary Flying Machines. The Invention of Imaginary Machines of Destruction. This short is the darker and edgier cousin to Imaginary Flying Machines, directed by, who else? Hideaki Anno, a longtime friend of Hayao Miyazaki since the Nausicaa days. While Flying Machines was about technology birthing the wonders of flight, this is about its potential to create destructive war machines, eventually culminating in their repeated destruction, and finally, a nuclear explosion that destroys everything. This short may have been made as a reflection of the geopolitical events in the immediate aftermath of 9/11, such as the US invasion of Afghanistan. The short was directed by Ono on the condition that Miyazaki give a speech at his wedding reception. It was projected on a film box, a device shaped like a 1950s television. Unlike its sister film, this hasn't been screened since the end of the exhibition it was a part of. This is probably the white whale to end all white whales on this list. I'm sorry, I have so little information on this, given no one's seen this in 22 years. House hunting. This short involves a girl named Fuki, who, armed with just a rucksack and high spirits, sets off to find herself a new home away from the city. On her journey, she meets numerous creatures and offers them apples as a friendship gesture. While in the forest, however, rain starts to pour and she rushes into a nearby shelter inhabited by insects. She cooks some ramen in a cup, and after she feeds the remainders to the insects, she starts to sleep. The following day, she notices the god who owns the shelter. Offering him an apple, she leaves the shelter, and she is given a bag of mushrooms as a thank you. Uniquely, all the sound effects are done by the human mouth, provided by famous sunglasses-wearing comedian Tamori and singer Akiko Yano. Given the Japanese language has many words that are onomatopoeias, this made sense. Not only are the sound effects vocalised, you can even see them on screen. You can see this as a test run for Miyazaki eventually using mouth-made sound effects to punctuate important moments in The Wind Rises. Mon Mon the Water Spider. This short involves Mon Mon, a water spider who lives in a pond. One day, a water strider approaches the pond and he falls in love with her. She approaches him with caution, but she rejects his advances. Mon Mon, dejected from this experience, is only able to watch her from afar. However, a fish starts to attack her. Mon Mon is quick to act by dragging her underwater and putting her in one of his oxygen bubbles. When she awakes, however, she notices Mon Mon looking at her and flees in the rain. The very next day, she returns to the lake and notices Mon Mon surfacing. She then extends one of her appendages towards him. Mon Mon is a bit hesitant at first, but then decides to tap it until they both hold each other. They then travel across the lake, initially struggling but then getting sync. The fish surfaces once more and attempts to eat them, but the strider stretches her wings and flies to safety. After they have fled the fish, she lets go of Mon Mon and waves goodbye. Hayao Miyazaki had been fascinated by insects ever since he was a kid. In his elementary school, he was told that spiders have 8 eyes, and that if you look into a microscope, a jumping spider's head has beautiful red eyes. Around this time, he saw an animated short about spiders that live in water. He found it interesting that they attach air bubbles to the underside of aquatic leaves and live in them, but was disappointed that he didn't have the aptitude to become an entomologist. An idea to make a film about insects had gestated in his mind since the Nausicaa days. The idea for the short came to him while he was creating the panoramic boxes for the museum. These are boxes divided into multiple layers to give the illusion of depth, akin to how cell animation was made back in the day. One of these panoramic boxes is a display for Mon Mon, which laid the groundwork for the short's development. As spiders are a disliked and feared creature, Miyazaki aimed to draw Mon Mon and other characters in a charming way. During production, Miyazaki listened to the album Golden Aurora by Ryo Yamase, which inspired him to bring her on board for the film's soundtrack. Given its setting, the film has a lot of fluid water animation, which, like Koro and its art style, would serve as a testing ground for the hand-drawn water animation in Ponyo. The Day I Bought a Star. This short is based on Naohisa Inoue's fantasy world of Iblard, which previously proved a major influence on Whisper of the Heart, with him working on the background art for fantasy sequences. It involves a guy named Nona, who works a suffocating job in the city as part of the Time Bureau, which monitors how people use their time and advises or guides those who waste it. Tired of his soul-crushing job, he runs off to the desert. There, he meets a witch named Nina, who offers him a new job on her farm. One day, as he sets off to sell the vegetables he grew, he comes across 2 strange guys named Scopello and Makinsko, who are next to a tram that is stuck in the middle of nowhere. They offer him some planets for sale. He buys one while exchanging his vegetables. He returns home to plant the planet seed in a pot, spraying it with water. When the moon shines through the window, the planet sprouts up from the soil and grows. Nona can generate clouds of rain by spraying it with water, leading to the birth of the planet's seas. Grass starts to grow and plants roots on the continents, leading to the first life on the new planet, a pill bug. Satisfied, he sits back and watches. Eventually, things get a little hectic with the planet and Nina demands that he let go of the planet once and for all. The genesis of the short came when Inoue was painting a mural for the museum. He told Miyazaki his plans for the story, which he originally conceived as a children's book. While Miyazaki had been interested in creating a film fully set in the Iblard world for a long time, he thought this story would be the perfect opportunity for one and began development after the completion of Howl's Moving Castle. While Inoue envisioned the protagonist as a girl, Miyazaki thought he would be better suited as a boy. He felt that as many of his films featured female protagonists, it would be refreshing to do a change for once. As for the children's book idea, Inoue would publish it the same year the short came out, being sort of an extended version. This wouldn't be the last time Ghibli would have a short set in the Iblard universe. A year later, they released Iblard Time, which not only got a home release, it was actually the studio's first Blu-ray. Despite not being made as a prequel to Howl's Moving Castle, fans often remark that Nona looks an awful lot like a younger Howl, which was pointed out in a Nico Nico livestream with Ghibli producer Toshio Suzuki and fellow anime director Mamoru Oshii. A Sumo Wrestler's Tale. An old man named Jill and his wife Bar live a quiet life on a mountain where nothing really happens. One night, as Jill wakes up to go pee, he notices a bunch of mice walking. He decides to follow them into the woods until he finds a sumo ring set up. In this match are a slender blue mouse and a fat white mouse. He watches the mouse and realises the blue mouse lives in his home, whereas the white mouse lives in a rich man's house. To his dismay, the blue mouse is demolished by the fatter white mouse. He returns home to tell Bar about the match and how he is disappointed he couldn't offer any food for the mouse. She then comes up with an idea of using the rice they'd saved up to make rice cakes and miso dengaku for the blue mouse. The next day, they wake up and find out, to their pleasure, they had all been eaten. The final match begins and, with their new sumo strength, the blue mouse finally defeats their opponent. This short is an adaptation of a Japanese folktale called Nezumi no Sumo. As with most folktales, this has been widely adapted before, so Miyazaki wanted to put his own spin on it. He was inspired by finding writings by anthropologist Tsunechi Miyamoto. In one of these, he described a village on a mountaintop where planting rice fields is impossible. To feed themselves, they make tofu from soybeans. This is the first short in regular rotation that Hayao Miyazaki did not direct. Instead, he entrusted this duty to Akihiko Yamashita, making it his directorial debut. Miyazaki mentored him during production, asking him to depict the mice approaching the food like disciplined soldiers. Yamashita declared that the theme of the film was about how having a goal can give you strength, with even the losing mice declaring it to be a great tournament. To help develop the film's setting, the production staff visited the village of Shimoguri. Background artist Naoya Tanaka was astonished at how the potatoes were able to be grown despite the sharp geography. The crew sampled some sari dumplings made there, describing them as very tasty. This is reflected in the film's depiction of food. Mr. Do and the Egg Princess. This short begins with a witch named Baba Yaga who has a ravenous appetite for eggs, returning home to cook the mother of all egg dishes in a frying pan. However, one egg refuses to be cracked. As a result, she puts a ribbon on this defined egg and she comes to life. She calls her the Egg Princess. As time goes by, she is forced to work in the mill and kitchen as the witch's little servant and is even taunted with an apple with a worm in it. One night, the Egg Princess's handmade dough comes to life. She grants Mr. Do eyesight and they flee the witch's watermill. Baba Yaga wakes up and notices they've gone missing. The duo go through the forest and wheat fields into a nearby town as Baba Yaga attempts to search for them, causing havoc in the process. When they enter the town, Mr. Do attempts to disguise himself as a labourer, but Baba Yaga spots them. She eventually corners them in a baker's tent and dissects Mr. Do into several pieces of bread. While the Egg Princess manages to reassemble him, it's too late as he is shoved into the oven and turned into a bread man. Luckily, the royal guards come, aided by the Egg King and Queen. The now turned to bread Mr. Do takes the Egg Princess from the witch and places her on his shoulder to protect her, leading everyone in the village to cheer. To satisfy Baba Yaga's appetite, Mr. Do offers her a part of his chest as the duo walk off into the sunset. This short film takes influence from several European landscape paintings and folk language, most notably Peter Bruegel the Elder's 1565 painting The Harvesters. The spark for this short was when Miyazaki learned the crop in the painting was rye. The goal of the animation in this film, according to animation director Kitaro Kosaka, was to quote-unquote return to the origin of animation, incorporating a very high amount of drawings for a Ghibli short at an average of around 190 per individual shot. Uniquely for a Joe Hisaishi score, it is composed from a pre-existing composition, in this case D minor variations of Vivaldi's La Folia. Not only was the soundtrack to this sold in the museum, but it was even later sold in regular retail stores and in a Joe Hisaishi box set. Treasure hunting. You know how The Cat Returns is a spin-off of Whisper of the Heart, being set in the same universe? Well, this is a spiritual successor to The Whale Hunt, based on a book by the same author and using the same art style. It involves a boy named Yuji and a rabbit named Gik. Both of them find a stick and engage in numerous competitions, ranging from races to sumo wrestling, to determine who gets to keep the stick. However, these competitions always end up with a tie. After they run out of ideas, they go to Gik's granny for help. She suggests to them a treasure hunt. With that, they finally have fun until night falls and Yuji heads home. Out of the shorts in regular rotation, this is by far the shortest, at only 9 minutes. According to Toshio Suzuki, the main goal of this short was to be able to hone the skills for animating walking and running, stating that while they aren't easy animation exercises, in the right hands, those two animations can tell a character's age and gender. Boro the Caterpillar. This short represented a bold new venture for Hayao Miyazaki, as while he has used CGI for bits of his films before, this is the first one to have a CGI main character. The plot starts with the hatching of Boro's egg as he sees the world for the first time. As he is only 1mm in size, tiny flowers are like massive trees to him, so he is understandably fearful. Eventually, he witnesses the magic of photosynthesis, making the leaves produce transparent cubes. As he ventures out into the world, he sees fellow caterpillars eating the leaves, so he decides to do the same to nourish himself. However, a scorpion fly akin to a gunship appears, killing 2 caterpillars and carrying them off. Boro manages to avoid it, but not before all the other caterpillars run away from the now dead plant. Before he has time to react, he is flung onto a girl biking through the fields. She returns home for her mother to notice Boro stuck to her. She escorts him outside onto a new field. He is fearful once again, but witnesses photosynthesis on a dandelion and happily claims it as his new home. This was an idea that had gestated in Miyazaki's mind since 1995. Originally planned as a feature film, Toshio Suzuki was concerned about the viability of a film without any human characters, and so it was put on the back burner to focus on Princess Mononoke instead. 18 years later, following Miyazaki's seemingly final retirement after The Wind Rises, Suzuki asked him if he could make a short film out of his idea for the Ghibli Museum. It was also Suzuki that encouraged him to make the short in CGI, feeling the technological challenge would reignite his desire for movie making and give him a new challenge. Just a few months earlier, his son Goro had made the 2D/CGI hybrid TV series Roger the Robber's Daughter, which he had been surprised by the results of. He was offered the choice to develop the short with either the animators at Pixar or with Japanese CGI animators. Given he could more easily direct the latter due to speaking the same language, he chose them. Much like House Hunting, Tamori provided all of the film's audio, except for a piece at the end from Joe Hisaishi. Clips of the short and its production were shown in the documentary Never Ending Man Hayao Miyazaki. Yes, it's the same doc where he murders some programmers with, "I strongly feel that this is an insult to life itself." While it wasn't a comment on AI art, I have no doubt the man himself would be against AI. Film Guru. Now on to the ones that aren't talked about as much. Hayao Miyazaki made a series of films to show audiences how film projectors created the illusion of movement. With the exception of the last one, all these shorts have the same beginning and end images, allowing them to be seamlessly looped. Originally, these shorts were silent, but to spice it up, music was added in 2005. You know how resources for the other shorts were limited? Well, these are very limited. I will have to use clips from other stuff to illustrate what these shorts are like, as I have so little information on them. A Splendid Ball. This one is about a doll spinning, then returning to a stationary state. You can see her dress lift up as she spins. Rambutan Adventures. This is a minute-long fight scene with a guy called Rambutan and a villain who kidnaps the hero's girlfriend in a convertible. This has rubber limbs animation reminiscent of 1920s cartoons. Fish. This short is about fish getting eaten by bigger fish. As they say, there's always a bigger fish. Tackle Later. This short is about an octopus climbing the stairs. This is purely a showcase of animating one of the most complex creatures. Indeed, just ask Pixar. Pio Pio Baba. Somehow Yubaba returned, and she rotates, and she has a bird in her hair. Bobo-kun. This is about a fire demon eating coal. You may recognise this guy, he was reused as Calcifer. Madran's World. Green grains are planted, then they're unique to form a mitochondria. This creature eats a pill bug and becomes a pink earthworm, then takes a dump. Then a piece of poop called Hun comes on screen and grows legs. All of a sudden, it rains and washes the poop away, except one, who digs underground to survive. However, a monster called Tidar appears. After the water drains, grass sprouts up at a rapid pace, attracting small white bugs towards the flowers, but a creature called Mogubo arrives and eats them. When they enter the flower, a blue strawberry is produced, which falls to the ground and shatters into green grains. It's the circle of life, baby. The Theory of Evolution. This short was directed by Hiromasa Yonebayashi, who would go on to direct The Secret World of Arrietty when Marnie was there, and later leave the studio to form Studio Ponok. This is a short that involves tadpoles evolving into fish, then dinosaurs, and finally humans falling in love. This letterbox review that I found says that the evolution sequence in Darren Aronofsky's Noah is basically a shot-for-shot remake of this short. Damn, Darren, I knew you took a lot of influence from Perfect Blue, but I didn't know you also took influence from a very obscure Ghibli short. I have not seen the short, so I cannot confirm it, but it could be a Kimba/Lion King situation for all I know. In 1997, the Bureau International des Expositions awarded Expo 2005 to Aichi Prefecture, Japan. Attractions at the Expo that year included both Honda and Toyota's robots, a clothing range for chickens, and most importantly, a full-size recreation of Satsuki and Mei's house from My Neighbour Totoro. Ghibli pulled no punches in the building of this site, as it was built exactly like a house from that era and features numerous authentic items from 1950s Japan, even textbooks with notes written on them from the kids. Fittingly, the theme of this expo was about nature's wisdom, Once the expo closed, the site became a commemorative park. The Totoro house recreation laid the groundwork for the site's transformation into a theme park based on the studio's works, which was announced in 2017 by Toshio Suzuki. After some COVID-related delays, the park finally opened in 2022. Like the museum, the park has its own cinema named Cinema Orion. This is located in Ghibli's Grand Warehouse and seats 170 people. It's designed like one of those old movie palaces, and its schedule runs independently from that of the museum. A premium ticket for the park, which grants you access to all the areas, will run you 7,300 yen on weekdays and 7,800 on weekends and bank holidays. But luckily, if you're only interested in the shorts, they sell you a standard ticket that grants you access to the warehouse, Mononoke Village and the Valley of Witches for 4,000 yen less. 5 years after opening, the park would get a short specifically made for it. Night in the Valley of Witches. This short is directed by Hayao Miyazaki's son Goro Miyazaki and a sumo wrestler's tale director Akihiko Yamashita. This short is set in the Valley of Witches, an area of the park inspired by the studio's witch films like Kiki's Delivery Service and Howl's Moving Castle. Think of it as Ghibli's version of Night in the Museum. Shinjin is a new employee at the Ghibli park. All sorts of mysterious things happen during his building repairs, from the fireplace lighting on its own to water fountains sprouting when they should be turned off. Despite being terrified of these odd occurrences, his senior, Kiku, wouldn't listen. That midnight, he heads to the Valley of Witches and finds Kiku wearing a cloak there. She reveals to him that she is a witch and draws supernatural energy from the fountain and performs a ritual that causes the buildings to shake. After that, they go on a night walk. It turns out this ritual is essential to ensure the health of the park and the witches. The music here is worth noting. It starts off calm, like you'd expect in a Ghibli joint, but during the chase at the end, it delves into hard rock. Jessie from the boy band Stones voices the lead Shinjin. In the supporting role of Kiku is Aina the End. Oddly enough, the art style feels more level 5 than Ghibli, but they did work on Ni no Kuni, so perhaps this was their way of paying them back. Have they screened outside the museum and park? Believe it or not, they have! The first international showing was when The Whale Hunt was shown at the New York International Children's Film Festival in 2002. The Kittenbus was screened at Pixar as a thank you to John Lasseter for his involvement in the English dub of Spirited Away. Given Lasseter was revealed to be a bit of a creep, I think Miyazaki regrets that. Mon the Water Spider was shown at the second Tokyo International Science Festival in 2010 as part of the World of Underwater Creatures exhibit. The screening was held in cooperation with the Inokashira Park Zoo, which had successfully bred diving bell spiders, the ones you see in the film. House Hunting and Mon the Water Spider were shown at the Japan NYC Festival in Carnegie Hall, New York City on March 25th, 2011. As you can imagine, for two white whales like these, tickets sold out for both showings. The biggest one, however, was in the 2024 Cannes Film Festival. That year, Studio Ghibli received an honorary Palme d'Or, the first one awarded to a company rather than an individual. To celebrate this, they screened 4 of their exclusive shorts: Name the Kittenbus, House Hunting, Mr. Dawn the Egg Princess, and Boro the Caterpillar. Could they get a wider release? For home viewing? Absolutely not. If they actually do put out even one of them for home release, I will drink a bottle of undiluted squash. Some people have speculated that they will only get a public release once Hayao Miyazaki passes away. I can see where they're coming from. I mean, Michael Jackson has had some posthumous songs, and Tupac Shakur had 6 albums come out after his death. But personally, I believe they will only be released for home viewing when the museum and park close for good. It's a bit like The Mousetrap, where a film can only be made once its historically long West End run closes for good. The funny thing is, these shorts aren't that well known even in Japan, most likely due to their exclusivity. When a Japanese Twitter user posted images of me and the Kittenbus alongside a poll asking if users knew about it, 80% responded with no. That being said, they do sell souvenirs of the films, not only badges and finger puppets, but pamphlets and even CD soundtracks. They are sold in the Mama Ayuto gift shop, named after the Sky Pirates in Porco Rosso. I could have bought them off eBay, but sellers there love to scalp foreign items, so I did what I did for my Kill Bill Japanese DVD. I used a Japanese auction site proxy service. I bought the pamphlets, had them shipped to the UK, scanned them in at 12,000 dots per inch, colour corrected them and did painstaking dust and scratch removal to provide an archival quality image that I could easily Ken Burns for this video. Even with the shipping cost you'd expect for something shipped halfway across the globe, it still wound up cheaper. No, I wasn't going to pay £50 for a 24-page pamphlet, I paid £50 for all 10 of them. I was only able to find 2 legally released sources for videos of the shorts. San Arigato, which has a segment showing the Pixar screening of Me and the Kittenbus, and a 2006 news segment which shows house hunting, Mon the Water Spider, and The Day I Bought a Star. Given the rip of the latter is from 2006, the resolution is comparable to that of a postage stamp. However, there is one avenue I can see Ghibli willing to license these films out to: theatrical only showings. This sounds like the best compromise. Fans outside Japan can see the shorts, yet they're not simply a push button away. I'd imagine Me and the Kittenbus would fit perfectly alongside a 4K restoration of My Neighbour Totoro shown in IMAX. And as I've said before, they have screened internationally in things like film festivals. Hell, I'd love to see how they could handle an English dub of Kittenbus. I don't know if Elle Fanning could reprise her role as she is now an adult, but it could be interesting to see who they'll cast to match the role from over 2 decades ago. Given G-Kids have shown Ghibli's Episode 2 for the first time in North America as a short attached to Spirited Away, I can see them going one step further. I'm gonna wrap this video up with one burning question: should the shorts see a home release? My answer is mixed. While I would undeniably love to see these, I can see why Miyazaki doesn't stick them on home video. They're meant to be experiences to make the price of admission to the museum and park worth it, and a home release may feel a bit disrespectful. Unlike Tarantino, who relented and released the whole bloody affair on home media, I don't think Ghibli will be as easily swayed. It's sort of like Stanley Kubrick's deleted scenes, such as The Shining's cut hospital ending. They're an undeniable part of cinema history, but Kubrick really did not want people to see them. And it's honestly heartwarming that despite Hollywood milking IPs like genetically modified cows, they have chosen to respect his wishes. Notice how, despite me telling the plot of these shorts, I did not put a spoiler warning on this video. This is because I don't think your enjoyment of these will be diminished due to the hard of access nature of them. It's about the journey, not the destination after all. As for when I'll finally see these, it'll probably be the same day The Simpsons ends for good.